Thousands of mourners gather near the Bosnian town of Srebrenica for a mass ceremonial burial. They are remembering the victims of the worst massacre in Europe since the Second World War. There have been several similar commemorations here, but this year the ceremony will be particularly poignant. It's 10 years since thousands of Srebrenica's citizens were slaughtered by Serbian armed forces. Many international dignitaries have been invited to attend the ceremony, but one important guest will be absent.
I cannot show my face commemorating Srebrenica and knowing and to be responsible that Karadzic and Mladic, the most responsible for what happened in Srebrenica, are still at large.
Former Bosnian Serb leader Radovan Karadzic and General Ratko Mladic top the list of those indicted for war crimes in the former Yugoslavia. Both have evaded capture for 10 years. But there is now a bigger political process at work, as all sides try to move towards a better and more secure future for the Balkans.
What Karadzic is saying, and has said for many years, is držati, držati, držati. Hang on, hang on, hang on. They will go away, they will get tired, they will get bored. We've managed to get the stone moving at last because they've been convinced we're not going to get bored. There is one thing that unites this country. There's one thing, one glue which holds together the whole region. There's one single aim that every single person, every single political party, every single ethnicity is bound to, which is we can have only one secure future, and that's in Europe and in NATO.
Now it seems that the people of Srebrenica must look beyond the Balkans if they're to find truth and justice. Forensic scientists are still uncovering the truth about what really happened at Srebrenica during the war in Bosnia. The truth about atrocities committed by people who still haven't been brought to justice. Their task is even harder than it looks.
The perpetrators of the massacre went to enormous lengths to hide the evidence. They were originally buried in huge mass graves, and then when it became apparent that satellite imagery could pinpoint the locations of these graves, they went in again using heavy machinery and dug up the bodies and reburied them then in smaller mass graves that they hid better.
People have been arguing about Srebrenica for a decade. There are still some who deny or refuse to believe what happened. In July 1995, Serbian forces led by General Mladic entered the mainly Muslim town of Srebrenica in northeast Bosnia. "20,000 refugees, mainly women and children, fled to the UN base at Potocari, while others, mainly men, headed for the hills around the town. At the base, inadequately armed Dutch peacekeepers, whose fellow soldiers had been taken hostage, had no option but to hand over thousands of refugees. Mladic and his troops separated men and boys from women and small children. Most of the women were then bussed out. Others were raped, tortured and murdered. The men were taken away to be slaughtered and their bodies dumped in mass graves. The bodies or remains that have been recovered are brought here to the International Commission on Missing Persons, where forensic archaeologists begin the painstaking process of identifying the victims.
Good, you're almost done this case. Srebrenica poses a unique forensic challenge simply because the victims were killed and buried in a primary grave, and several months later they were dug up again and transferred into many smaller graves. And what that process does is that body parts become disconnected, and so we may find parts of one person in one or two graves.
General Mladic told peacekeepers that all the Bosnian males, including the boys, were suspected of war crimes and were simply being taken away for questioning. The latest discovery here reveals the full horror of what really happened.
Alrighty. This is a male. He is clearly a male. And as for age, we are looking at different parts of the body to come up with our best estimate, and the anthropological team has estimated about 14 to 16 years old.